Hello and welcome. Thank you all for being here today. I am Nick Brown, Director of Technology for the Asset Leadership Network, and I am excited for this special program where we catch up on kind of a lot of things that the Asset Leadership Network and our members have been up to. So today we're going to be hearing from Cyril Verlet, President and CEO of CDV Systems, Inc., and Dominic Townsend, President, ABS Quality Evaluations Incorporated. And we're going to hear from more people too, but before we get to the discussion today, we just want to thank all our patron members, Jacobs, Mantech, Onuma, ABS Quality Evaluations, and CGI, and all our organizational members for supporting all of the activities that we do and for partnering with us in this mission to promote asset management as a whole. And Mike Bordenero, Executive Director, welcome.
Thank you, Nick. And Nick is right. There has been an explosion, a good explosion of activity that the Asset Leadership Network has been up to. And this week really showed that we kind of got to let everybody know what's happening on so many levels. And we've got our members joining to talk about what they're up to. And it's anybody who is out there and wants to become a panelist and talk about their involvement with the Asset Leadership Network and what they're doing, you can do that too. But this week started on Monday at 9 a.m. in Washington, D.C. at the D.C. City Hall. And this picture here is showing D.C. Council member Brooke Pinto, who said hello to our colleagues at the D.C. Government Office of the Chief Financial Officer and the South Korean Asset Management Corporation, which takes non-performing assets, holds them, improves them, and then releases them. It's a catch and release program, releases them back to private activity. And they wanted to learn about DC government. Well, they wanted to learn about information management, and I knew that DC government would be an excellent organization. And this has really exploded. There's going to be a web conference between Seoul and Washington, D.C., which are sister cities. And the person who runs the sister city program for Washington, D.C. and other cultural involvement activities came and said, it's not just Seoul. We want to showcase what our Office of Chief Financial Officer is doing to all of Korea, South Korea. And this can begin a capital cities asset leadership exchange program where capital cities are trying to kickstart asset management in their countries by sharing things. So that was really wonderful. And what's on the next slide there, Nick? Oh, yesterday, and we'll have Jim Dieter talk about this further. We had our values and benefits from asset management program with our Australian colleagues at the Asset Management Council, highlighting the first survey of how asset management is improving your country. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And there's more coming. We'll have more reports on that program and next. Oh, we've got the architect of the Capitol leading off our 2024 Federal Asset Leadership Insights Program. Byron Dunlop has made the architect of the Capitol the first federal agency that has ISO 55001 certification. That's for the John Adams Building and the Library of Congress. Dominic Townsend is going to talk later about that. And then the next slide is also more about, yes, Federal Asset Leadership Insights. And let's put a registration link for this because that's coming up on the 13th and 14th. And we just found out that Bonneville Power is going to have two people speaking. Asset management is a team sport. And so Stacy Webster Wharton and a colleague of hers will be addressing that along with the Army Corps of Engineers. We've got the architect of the Capitol, and we've got the Government Accountability Office. And we're lining up some other people. So that's going to be great. But we've got Dominic Townsend with us. So why don't we can stop showing that and welcome Dominic. He's president of ABS Quality Evaluations. How you doing, Dominic?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Mike. How about yourself?
Uh, a little excited, as you might be able to tell. Things are really coming to fruition. This is, as we have foreseen it, this is what we were hoping for. And um, I would like you to talk a little bit about your involvement in that certification. ABS Quality Evaluations was the certifying body for the Architect of the Capitol. What can you publicly share about that experience?
Very good. Well, one, we were excited to be partners with Byron Dunlop and his team with the Architect of the Capitol, the Library of Congress, John Adams Building. One, they're a very committed organization and really trying to drive improvement, as well as the importance of asset management and how they manage their buildings across the federal capital, and to be their partner certifying them as the first public building in the United States was exciting for us. And Byron and his team have been very dedicated. They put the resources in place, and they were very focused on making sure that they understood the requirements of the standard. How can their activities and processes work within the framework of asset management, and build what I would call a leading program within ISO 55000, and really being that thought leadership and a very big advocate of driving asset management throughout the Capitol building. So it's just a great experience for us.
Well, wonderful. You mentioned that they were coming with the right attitude. Can you explain anything? Well, maybe if we just make it more general, it's just like, what's a winning approach to ISO 55001 certification, and how did Architect of the Capitol embody some of those winning approaches?
Well, they came at it with a very holistic approach. Their team members were very excited about the implementation of asset management. They were doing it because they wanted to make their organization better. And when you have that mindset and you see the value in management systems, or in this particular case, ISO 55000 asset management, you're doing it for the right reasons and you see value. And when you move forward with that process and have that thought leadership towards it, it makes the whole process and certification activities much more easy and very exciting.
Excellent. So, as president, you probably weren't involved in the, walking the building or anything like that, but is there anything that you learned from the people who are involved in the certification that you can share with us about that?
Yeah, our audit team that performed the work, and you're right, I'm not the one physically there all the time, but I get to do the exciting things about hand delivering certificates. But our audit team felt that the people that they were interacting with Byron and his group, they really made the process very easy, and they understood what asset management was. They wanted to continue to learn, and it was really what I would call a true partnership, working together towards certification.
Excellent. So I would think that during the audit process, there is a lot of opportunity for learning. Can you explain what some of those might be?
Yeah, there is. When we're looking at key performance indicators during when they're setting up management review, or they're doing their internal audits, we're seeing things that might be that we see in other areas. Not that we're allowed to tell them how to fix things, but we might tell organizations, okay, you might want to consider this. We've seen this somewhere else. So those are continual learnings. Then coming back the other way, we're learning about how the Capitol buildings operate. So to me, it's a two-way highway as we continue to learn together.
Yeah, excellent. So one of the things that also happened this week on Monday was Guidehouse, which is a ALN organizational member, brought us to the Senate office building's superintendent's office. And when you said they're interested in expanding asset management, boy, so not only is Byron now the enterprise asset manager for all of the Architect of the Capitol, the Senate office buildings, because they're divided up by the Capitol building, the Senate office buildings, the House office buildings, the Supreme Court, the Library of Congress, the Botanical Gardens, and all the grounds. So they've got all these divisions. And the Senate office buildings are doing a training and mentorship program with Guidehouse, and the ALN is able to come in and provide insights. Dominic, you might be able to come and do a little presentation on certification with them. And they are very committed to learning about asset management. They're talking about new buildings that are going to be going up for the architect of the Capitol. So we've got even a chance to embed asset management certification approaches from the planning stages. That's my dream as a U.S. citizen. I get to say things like that. That's not what the architect of the Capitol is doing. But thank you for coming and joining us. And you'll be with us on November 13th also when we have Byron. Appreciate you coming in and taking time out of your busy day to join us. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate working with you and the team. The ALN is doing great things in asset leadership and asset management. So just love being part of it. So looking forward to November 13th.
Okay. Appreciate your support. Bye.
Take care, everyone.
And I know that we were going to try to have Cyril Verlay sign in. Nick, has there been any indication that that has happened?
Did you text him the passcode?
Yes, we did. So why don't we bring Jim in? Jim Dieter was part of a web program with the Australian Asset Management Council yesterday. We've done a survey, and I will put that up. We're still getting, we're still taking submissions for the survey, and it's called a sentiment survey to get people's ideas about how they think asset management is improving their country. And I'm not sure I got that whole thing, but Jim, you were part of the program last night. What did you think of it?
Well, that was really good, really interesting insight. You might, the title of it might be, "How's things working for you?" So, and there were some interesting insights. I'm a doubter when it comes to surveys in general, but this one, I think, provided some meaningful results. And a key thing is that they're going to be repeating this survey, they and along with us, and hopefully others, will be repeating this survey every year. So we'll be able to see some trends over time. And I think that's where surveys are the most interesting. Maybe add a few questions, but to ask the same questions and see how opinions have changed. The takeaway was remarkably, with us, the head start Australia had, and particularly with their federal government and provincial government support, that our results were very much similar to theirs. Little differences here and there, but generally there was a lot of positivity and people seeing strong or important results. And there was very few people that were saying it didn't make a difference or that there was some issue with it. I'll have to talk to those people and see what the cause of their problems were. But this is all just, it's not about the individuals, it's about the consolidated data. So that would have to be another process. So we have Mike and Peter and Sally from Australia have in mind to start enlisting other countries, perhaps even this year, Mike.
So the survey is open to other countries this year, and some have come in from Indonesia, Malaysia, Netherlands, etc. But what we're planning now is a paper. This is the overall survey. There's a long PowerPoint presentation that I won't bore you with, but if other countries like it, and I know that the Canadian PMAC was in the audience and in our audience last week, so they're potentially interested, and we would be able to do this and then share comparisons with each of the country that do the survey in their country. I think it's a leadership activity to make this type of survey available. And Jim is already talking about how to improve the understanding by increasing segment information and requirements. But this is what Jim was talking about overall. These blue colors are positive, and it's more than 50% some positive or significant positive impact. A good number of people say it's too soon to say, and only a few say things are negative. And there's always going to be some negative. We're not looking for, all dark blue across this. The idea, like Jim says, is to show it over time. And probably the most important one we're going to do is 5 years from now. And we can show the growth of the colors are shrinking, maybe the red's eliminated, maybe we increase it to more people, to more leaders, and they don't know about asset management. So one
of the things I like about it, the survey in particular, is you look at the short versions of the questions that are highlighting, each row, is that it really is a leadership activity, which is, of course, what we're all about. There's, you can find a lot of going into the depths and the weeds of maintenance and risk and, how those things are, particularly implemented and how they're going. But to get the big picture look of how those are being addressed. And to me, these are the kind of questions that senior leaders of organizations should be asking and understanding where it can make a difference for them and their organization. So I think it'll be a valuable tool for asset leadership and, of course, asset management.
One of the things that popped out to me last night is this asset management impact on non-financial values. Pretty positive. So that is the intangibles. That's the culture. And that's what we have been saying is it's not the tools, it's not the processes. Those work. It's about changing the culture. And people are saying that there is an impact there. So I found that interesting. And it was good for you to be able to join us, Jim, and launch that. I thought it was a natural growth out of the values and benefits from asset management web series that we've been doing, focusing on success stories. But we invited our Australian colleagues to write about the impact of asset management on the country of Australia. And they said, well, we need to do a survey to be able to validate what we're feeling. And so that'll be going into the article, and that type of material will be coming out. There's so much going on. One of the things I forgot to mention about DC government is DC government has just recently improved their capital asset replacement scheduling system, CARS, that has been globally recognized as an incredible asset management tool that took 2 years to set up, and they wanted to expand it. So they put a specification for the way they wanted it to work going into the future. They're going to share that with Seoul, South Korea, but they're also going to make it available as a template specification for other owners who also want to get their information in an asset management system. They've got 100 departments, and it's important to organize that information. They do it on a weekly basis. So another template that we're going to be looking at, and Jimmy can stick around for this one because you're potentially involved with the Los Angeles Community College District, which has a request for digital twins. And ALN members have teamed together to submit a proposal, even with some members, people who are not members of the ALN. But Cyril Verlet is one of those members of the team. He is joining us on phone. And I guess, Nick, if you can make him unmuted so that he can hear this.
I did press that button. Oh, yeah, here he is.
Hi, Cyril.
Hello, Mike. How are you?
We're doing very good.
Great. Thanks for having me. No, this as you say, the digital twin for LACCD. It's quite exciting. It's funny that the position that we're taking is from sort of the opposite side of this, where in order for owners to really benefit from the data inside these assets, the people that create the models, they're the ideal ones that deliver models that are useful for the owners. And that's been our focus, is to create an environment where when the AEC team members and all the architects, engineers, and contractors are creating these models, the owner can use them and actually harvest that data, not to use BIM for their facility management, but to harvest the BIM data into the digital twin. In this case, the Numa Systems, that's what we're partnered with, to create an environment that makes access to the information far faster, far more useful to the owner, and easier to access using a map. And I think that's the key. So it's funny that go ahead, Mike.
What's funny, Cyril?
No, I think that it's interesting that this perspective. We've been working with the AEC market on BIM for the last 22 years, and when we work with owners, we always get the same answer. We don't use BIM because the data is not useful. It's not in a format that's useful, and that was nails on the blackboard for us. So that's
that was going to be my
is,
question, Cyril. You went straight to the answer. I was going to say, how is this RFP different, and why do you think it's a good idea for the ALN to use this publicly available information to create a template for other owners so they can know what to ask for with digital twins managed with asset management governance?
Well, that's the key right there, Mike, is that we're actually requiring that the AEC teams, in building their models, create data-rich models. That's the key. And from there, the data is harvested into a map structure. Again, an ideal digital twin includes a map. And so that because that's the first step of managing any asset. You got to be able to find it. And once you've found it, then off you go with whatever needs you might have, whether it's cataloging, maintenance, preventative maintenance, whatever it is. But the key first step is to locate it, and the best people to create the maps are the AEC folks making the BIMs. Those are the best people doing it. So it's funny. Go ahead, Mike.
Now, anytime you got something funny to say, I want to hear it. What's funny?
Well, it's funny because some owners, they have a perspective that when the project is over, they somehow have to recreate a data structure that's useful for them, and that's the problem, is that owners don't have time to wait 6 to 18 months to recreate a digital twin. Why not use the maps that are generated by the AEC team members that's useful? And so and we've proven that a number of times in this transfer of data from BIM to a digital twin. And then the whole conversation of AI, that's a whole nother level of conversation that Numa Systems has been doing for the last couple of years with AI and their digital twin. That's just a whole nother perspective altogether. That's a whole different discussion altogether. But I think the intention
you have to have that information before you can even
Exactly.
start making it worthwhile to use
Exactly.
artificial intelligence.
Exactly right. So
So
we're excited about this partnership that we have with Onuma and with LACCD, and fingers crossed, phase 2 is coming up.
yeah, and other ALN members are part of that. Patty is a 2004 ALN member, and full disclosure, Jim Dieter is not only the CEO and chair of the ALN, but he has a consulting business, and he has been asked to chime in on this proposal. Jim, you had a look at it. What did you think about the request for proposal and how ALN members are coming together to address it?
Well, first I have to get my little one-liner in, which is to what Cecil was talking about. In the past referred to that the situation with having a data set and then not keeping it up as the difference between the data being part of a process tool as opposed to a data cemetery. And if you're not keeping it up, the data just goes there to die, and then it's not any good.
Absolutely.
But the RFP, I thought, is good. It's interesting. It's really interesting reading RFPs. I used to be a contracts person, but read RFPs, and you can learn so much about what organizations are thinking about and what level their knowledge is at and how they write RFPs. So this is, I think, was very interesting because I think they had a pretty advanced level of knowledge about asset management. But it also shows they understand where they need to progress and how they can do it better. So perfect situation.
Yes, and there was some things in the RFP that we questioned. So what we're going to do is take that publicly available information and turn it into a ALN template. Well, we'll use it as the basis of an ALN template RFP for digital twins. System of systems is what I suggest we call it, because it's not getting a digital twin. It's not buying one thing. It's having systems that talk to each other so that these graphic representations of assets can present information in clear ways to non-expert stakeholders to help accelerate critical decision making. And
Right.
we will adjust some of the things, and we'll have a little committee. If anybody's interested, they can reach out to us. I'll put my email here.
Mike, you haven't used the word governance yet.
I did once, but I was talking over Cyril when I said it.
Well, Mike, you were
Go ahead,
you
Cyril.
were suggesting that was something that was that was questioned in the RFP, and I'm wondering if, because for us it was a surprise that they wanted to focus on existing conditions, and from our perspective, ideally they're reviewing both existing and for new projects, and
Yes.
I think that's it has to be part of it has to be that's the perspective that's required for this, that because otherwise all new projects that are coming online are just going to fall into the same pit as the existing, and we're hoping that we can avoid that. So
Okay, and this leads into the next thing, Cyril, that you know about, the NIBS, National Institute of Building Sciences Digital Twins Program, December 9th through the 11th. I'm putting a link to that. The Asset Leadership Network has enjoyed a great relationship with the National Institute of Building Sciences, and we are happy that our members are actually bringing the ALN with them to this conference in December. And the team that presented is responding to the RFP to the Los Angeles Community College District will be presenting there. And Cyril's part of that team. I'm not sure though, Cyril, are you going to be in at the NIBS event in December?
that's the plan. Yes,
Excellent.
that's the plan.
It's been such an honor the past 2 years that Cyril and Onuma Inc. have brought the ALN to conferences with them. And I think that the concept that governance, as Jim said, is the starting point. Because Cyril said you've got to have the information from the original designers and engineers and contractors, but you've got to know what you want that information to do in the future. And you've got to express that in governance documents. And part of the governance documents are the ability to change with things that come out that we don't even know about yet. And that's one of the things that we're going to be changing with the Los Angeles Community College RFP, is having a very clear understanding. We don't know what the best software is going to be a year from now. However, whatever the system is, has got to have hooks and capabilities to be able to interact with that. Now, Cyril, you've been around for a long time. You've been doing this. What are some of the things that we can say in a template RFP to help owners understand the importance of this?
I'm sorry, Mike, that was for me?
Yeah, you've seen owners who haven't worded it right and then get stuck in these data graves like Jim mentioned.
Yes. So ideally, the system wants to have, we want to, of course, use existing standards like COBE and the CSI standards, master format, uniform, and omni class as part of the standards. But we've created an environment, if you will, we call it Collectus, where the models that are generated have that structure already built. So instead of trying to create these parameters, a term in BIM, instead of trying to create that structure, the structure is already there. But likewise, there needs to be a mechanism where the owners can validate these models to make sure that is the data there. They can open up the model, they can check schedule. Is the data structure there and filled in? Whether it's corrected or not, that's the responsibility of the teams building the models. But for them to be able to just add an air handling unit or add a rooftop unit, whatever it is, and be able to enter the required data within it and have the owner check it, that's the key. And we've proven that those data-rich models, literally the harvesting into a digital twin, in this case again a NUMA, it's literally hours of time to bring in to that digital twin. Again, we do not recommend using BIM to manage a facility, but to harvest the data, that's the key. We want to harvest the data out of these models because the ACT members are the ones that are ideally suited to build the models. We've worked with clients in the past to try to recreate Revit models from scratch of existing buildings. That's just pain and suffering. And students don't know how to build models. I mean, so I think that, and again, what we love about working with a NUMA is that for existing buildings, you can take a variety of data formats, CAD, BIM, Excel, whatever the formats are, and bring it into the digital twin there as well, and still generate a map. But the real data rich is coming from newer models that are generated with data rich, BIM models. So that's our focus is creating that structure for our clients, our owner clients.
Excellent. So thank you, Cyril. And that brings us to December. In January, we're doing a program with the Government Finance Officers Association that highlights what Denver Transportation and Infrastructure has done in creating an asset management policy and what they're doing beyond that. Earl Jackson has spoken with us in the past, and he's on board to speak about policy that they've established and how others can replicate that in establishing a local government asset management program or advancing their program. And then in February, this team that Cyril represents is then presenting at the American Society of Heating and Refrigeration Engineers, ASHRAE is what it's called. It's a big deal. It's in the winter every year, and we'll be demonstrating the digital twins approach. And that's when we plan on having that template ready. And
right.
So that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg of the things that our members have us involved with. And Cyril, I'm glad you were speaking with such excitement in your voice, because I'm excited about it also. And it's good to know that we're able to get our involved in the excitement of our members, and it feeds back and forth.
Right. No, indeed. We're excited to be working with the ALN for the last couple of years for just this. I mean, that owners deserve more from these models, and we're creating an environment for that. So, and a perspective that makes the models more useful, the data more useful, and more accessible for the owner's needs.
Mm-hmm. And the connection with DC government, the South Korean government, the architect of the Capitol being certified by one of our organizational members. We're talking to the leaders. We're getting to the leaders, and the tools and processes work. It's about the human behavior, and that has to change through culture, and leaders have the best chance of improving culture, establishing culture of asset management. Very excited to be working with this august group. Jim, thank you so much for getting this ball rolling in 2010. if you want to trace it back to the beginning of the US tag. Is your, yeah.
Say 10, you could say 12, you could say 14, you know. What we found is when anybody joins the ALN, they always think that's when the ALN started.
And that's fine. That is fine. So thank you to our audience too, because we are a trade association and only organizations join us, but we have so many supporters and owner representatives who are involved and share their information. That's lifeblood for us, and we appreciate everyone. So thank you for attending today or listening in the future. Thank you, Jim, for getting it started. Cyril, thanks for phoning in from wherever you are in your Airstream office and home. And Nick, always
Thank you, Mike.
your assistance. People don't even understand what goes on behind the scenes before this all gets started that Nick takes care of. So many thanks to Nick. And Nick, if you want to take us out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, always exciting talking to you, Mike, because you're always excited, and everyone needs someone excited to talk to every day. It's good for you. And thank you to our patron members, Jacobs, Mantech, Onuma, ABS Quality Evaluations, and CGI. Big thanks to Dominic for making some time today, and Cyril Verlet of CDV Systems, one of our ALN organizational members, and thanks to all our organizational members for making this possible. And we'd love to have more organizational members and patrons. If you're out there wondering how we could work together, please reach out. Let's talk more about just that, how we can support your mission. Mike?
Thank you, Nick. That was wonderful. Appreciate it. Bye.
See you next time.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Sarah.